Hello and welcome to episode 7 in the Ultimate Beginner's Guide to Dota 2. And this time we're talking all about leveling up and skill points. You know what that means? Well, actually no, I don't either. Anyway, by the end of this episode you'll learn what leveling up really means and actually pay attention to where you are placing your skill points and why. I'll also discuss talents so you get an idea of what these are and how they can really change the game up. Alright, so I mentioned this was episode 7, and I'm sure that if you're watching this, you've already subscribed because you're awesome. But if you haven't, the button is just down the page a little bit. Thanks peeps! In Dota, every character has a number of abilities they can select, starting from level 1. There are many different types of abilities, and the skill sets of a particular hero generally lends itself towards playing a particular role in the game. Now, I like to group these abilities into 10 different categories. I don't know if you'll find this anywhere else, so yeah, exclusive. Anyway, here they are. You've got nukes. These basically deal quick burst damage to a single target or multiple targets. Disables, well, I mean, they disable your hero in some way, and these include stuns, slows, or silences. Movement, these ones improve movement in some way. Can include higher movement speed, flying, blinks, or other buffs. Sustain, replenishes health or mana, and can also include damage reduction, or basically any other ability that allows you and your teammates to stay in fights longer, or push for longer. Auras, these strengthen affected teammates or weaken affected enemies. Physical damage, often includes crits, attack speed modifiers, and others in order to increase the physical damage you deal in a fight. AoE, or area of effect, which is basically any ability which affects an area of allies or enemies. Dispels, these are abilities which dispel negative or positive effects from enemies or allies. Really good for getting rid of disables. Summons, this covers pretty much any ability which can summon or dominate a creep that you can control. And other, which is pretty much any other random ability that doesn't fit into the real categories. Now, if I didn't have the other category there, this might not actually cover every ability, but I do think it gives you a pretty good idea of the possibilities in Dota, and also make sure you keep in mind that a lot of the abilities probably fit into multiple categories. Thinking of the skills as categories like this also helps to work out what your team might be lacking or how to draft a team to get a variety of skills that synergize well. At each level in Dota, you unlock a skill point which can be spent upgrading or selecting a new ability or talent. That's awesome! Bloody exciting, I know, but don't just smash the first ability you see. No, that would be a beginner mistake, but I know you guys are much better than that. To use your skill points efficiently and effectively, you've got to work out what will give you the most value for the mana spent. Now, I don't expect you to get overly crazy technical or mathematical on this like some other popular Dota teachers. Purge. Seriously though, Purge, if you are watching this, please let me know and please teach me. But getting back to it, what you need to do is just roughly work out what skill you need at that time. Think about if you need a disable to initiate a gank or help you get some extra auto attacks in on the enemy, or maybe even for a save. Maybe you need a damage ability to help get some early last hits, or maybe you even need a heal to help sustain the team. Also keep in mind what enemies you're playing against. Sometimes you might want to pick up a blink early, just so you can have an early escape mechanism if the enemy has a lot of disables. Another thing you want to look at is the damage values and the mana cost, as you do want to try to conserve mana and maximize the damage or value when using your spells. Sometimes it might be good to get a skill point in a stun at level 1, and then your next 2 points in a nuke, which you can start spamming at level 3. Often abilities become quite a lot more effective at level 3 and also don't cost too much more mana. Typically, each hero will also have an ultimate ability which is unlocked at level 6 and can be upgraded at levels 12 and 18. These abilities are often powerful spells which can be quite costly in terms of mana, and can also have long cooldowns. The effects of these spells are usually game changers in teamfights though. Think of heroes like Tidehunter, who has Ravage, a devastating area of effect ability which stuns and damages enemies in a huge 1250 radius, but it does have a 150 second cooldown. Some heroes can delete other heroes with their ultimates, like Lina or Lion, whose ultimates both deal extreme damage to a single target. Ultimate abilities are great, but sometimes it's not worth getting your ultimate or upgrading your ultimate before you've maxed out some of your other abilities first, or if you need some items to increase your mana pool. An example of this is Shadow Fiend, who will often skip the ultimate until level 9 in favour of maxing out his Shadow Rays and Necromastery skills first. These abilities increase his damage and effectiveness far more than his ultimate does early game. Not only that, but his ultimate actually relies on the souls that are built up from Necromastery, and getting the ultimate too early really weakens the ultimate, especially when you don't have many souls built up. The last thing to mention here are talents. Talents were actually only introduced to Dota about 3 years ago, right at the end of 2016. Talents are available to skill at levels 10, 15, 20 and 25, and can dramatically change the way your hero works, especially at level 25. Talents offer 2 options at each of those levels, and you can select one of them. Typically, the lower levels offer slight improvements like 15 damage or 6 strength, giving the option of extra damage, or increased health pool and survivability. There are a number of talents which increase your gold per minute, which can be really tempting and often worth getting, especially if you're a poor support hero. But it's the level 25 talents that are the real game changers, and something you may need to watch out for during the later stages of the game. Some of the best examples are Weaver, who can break the sound barrier and gains 200 Sikuchi movement speed. I guess you could always pick the +1 Geminate attack, but I really don't know why you'd want to do that when you could be a race car. What about Viper, who can augment his Nether Toxin ability to also silence any enemies caught inside of it? Or even Phantom Assassin, who can choose triple Stifling Dagger, which sends not 1, not 2, not 4, but 3 daggers hurtling towards enemies, each with a chance to crit and deal stupid amounts of damage. Like I mentioned earlier, with skill points though, try to select the talent that will benefit you the most. Sometimes you'll have the option for increased magic resistance or maybe some extra damage, and depending on your role, you might need the magic damage resistance to stay alive a little bit longer, or maybe you need to deal a little bit of damage, so get the damage talent. I personally try to stay away from the XP gain talents, as they're useless once you hit max level, but sometimes they can be worth grabbing if you think you can get an advantage by doing so and end the game early. The other natural part about leveling up is hero stats, but I'll be talking about that one in the next episode, as it can get quite in depth and I really want to separate it out so you guys can understand it a bit better and hopefully I don't confuse you too much. Don't forget to like the video if it's helped you out and chuck a subscribe if you're a mad dog. Thanks for watching and happy gaming!